Polyp works here. So this is something that I'm noticing, and it's coming into fruition after the Zoro versus Lucy fight in chapter 1110. It seems as though Lucy has been cooked, laid out like a leopard skinned mat, right? However, I'm starting to think this may not be the case, simply because he is an awakened Zoan. What do we know about awakened Zoans? It's that even when they are knocked out, they can simply get back up. And from what we're seeing from Saturn, they have this very, very crazy healing factor, right? This is also seen with Luffy in a few scenes back in Wano. But yeah, the idea is that awakened Zoans have very strong healing abilities. However, I've noticed something else that's just interesting, and I thought I'd bring it to everyone's attention. Do you notice that some Zoans don't revert to their base states when they are knocked out? For example, at the end of Enies Lobby, Lucy does not revert to his human state after Luffy hits him with Jet Gatling. He is unconscious, but he stays in his hybrid state. The same thing happens to Jaguar. After he loses to Sanji in Enies Lobby, he remains in his hybrid state. The same thing happens to Chopper. After being pushed into the ocean by Frankie coming out of Monster Point, he reverts to his hybrid form, which is the little tiny baby one, right? But what makes this more interesting is that all Zoans aren't created equal, because this is not the case for everyone. For example, in the same arc, Kaku, who was just newly empowered as a Zoan fruit user, turns back into his human state after losing to Zoro. This is not a thing only present in the pre-time skip, however, because way down the line in Wano, with one of the highest ranking members in Kaido's organization, Queen, when he too is knocked out by Sanji, he reverts back to his human form. So I say all this to say that certain Zoan fruit users are more invested in their powers than others. And because of that investment, even when the mind isn't present to control the ship, the body stays transformed. At least that's what I'm gathering. Because the interesting part of the people I have mentioned who have stayed transformed after being knocked out always have had some sort of special investment in their bodies. For example, Jaguar is the only user of the 6 powers that we know of who can move while using Tekai, right? Rob Lucci invested in his hybrid form way back in the pre-time skip, in which he used paper arts to have a slimmer version of it so he could be more efficient at fighting. And of course, Chopper is the first Zoan that we meet in the series that introduces us to the idea of partial transformations or transformations outside of the base 3 with the invention of the rubber ball. Also, he depends on an aspect of his ability, which is the human intelligence, which is why he can do all these medical and doctoral things as a medical doctor, as an MD. So maybe investment is the cause or the root of power here, because with Kaku, when he got knocked out, you have to remember, he just got his power that day. And even though he tried his best to work with what he had, it was very efficient with what he could do. He is the first Zoan in the series to show us how when someone first eats a devil fruit and gains an ability, they really aren't proficient in all the aspects of their ability, because he breaks through the floor, because he transforms into a full giraffe and not a giraffe hybrid. The same thing could be said for Queen. Even though we don't really know how long Queen has had his dinosaur fruit, it's safe to say that based on the cover story and all that we know about Queen, Queen is a scientist first. The devil fruit is just a means to an end meant to make him more efficient in combat and allows him to have more avenues for more freaky science experiments, like ejecting his long neck from his body and transforming himself into a weird snake creature. That's all science-driven stuff, primarily. So, all that being said, I think there is some sort of a hidden value of investment that is present within certain zones. Though, just to make sure I'm not like overreaching, I will say all this could just amount to what is cool for the story at the time. I only bring it up because it is oddly consistent with the characters who stay versus the characters who revert. But give me your thoughts.